Good evening and welcome to the meeting of the Arlington Board of Selectmen for August 7th, 2017. We're meeting at 7:15 p.m. in the Selectmen's Chambers on the second floor of the Arlington Town Hall. My name is Joe Curo. I'm joined by my colleagues Diane Mahan and Dan Dunn. Unfortunately, Mr. Greeley and Mr. Byrne are unable to join us this evening due to personal and professional conflicts. We're also assisted by Town Manager Adam Chapdelaine, Town Council Doug Heim, and our Board Administrator, Marie Kropelka. I know that typically I open with some kind of inspirational saying. I'm going to defer that this evening, as I know that later on this evening we will be hearing from our nominee for Poet Laureate, and so we'll hope to hear some inspiration from her. I would also like to say that I think that it's possible that there are a number of people who are here on a tree hearing appeal. I just want to make sure it is clear to folks that there was an appeal on Webcowett Road that was originally scheduled for this evening. It has been deferred until September 11th. At this time, we understand that that's when it will be scheduled. If there are any updates, we do encourage you to check the town's website, and I know that the URL was posted on the tree in question itself. We will have citizens open forum, but it is quite a ways down on the agenda, and time is limited. So with that, the first item that we have on the agenda is the Verizon Cable License Renewal. John Marr, Chair of the Cable Advisory Committee, along with Mr. Chapdelaine and Mr. Heim.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it's always a pleasure to be before this very august board. But I'm not sure you know. You probably do know that I'm a pretty big deal too. I mean, I think, how big a deal am I?
Huge.
So it's a pleasure for you as well as it's a pleasure for me to be here. Anyway, John Harrington from Verizon is here tonight. Counsel for Verizon did a very capable job. We have a new proposed agreement for your consideration tonight. Cable Advisory Committee that I chair met this morning and unanimously recommended its approval. The highlights are as follows. Essentially, almost all of the provisions of the current license are being carried forward, with some notable exceptions. Rather than a 10-year license, which RCN and Comcast agreed to, Verizon preferred a 5-year license, which is fine. We'll revisit the matter in 5 years. And at any time, a license can be renegotiated for any reason that either one of the parties wish. I think the main reason that they are concerned about that, and John can speak to that if you want to query him on it, is that things are changing technologically. A lot of customers are transitioning over to streaming on the internet, and they wanted perhaps would have admitted so many words, kind of hedged their bets with regard to the length of the license. But the main provisions remain in force and effect, and that is the 5% of gross revenues goes to our local access group, ACMi. Essentially the same amount of capital expenditures have been agreed to, and that is $50,000 over the course of each year for a total of $250,000, although it's treated a little bit differently in this contract. Rather than the 1% that RCN agreed to, which essentially would be the same amount that Comcast had prorated on the number of subscribers, it's going to be $125,000 at a flat grant, $25,000 a year, plus 0.325% of their gross revenues. And their original position was they wanted to tie it to the number of subscribers. And of course, they think that they may be losing some subscribers as this transitioning to the internet goes. We did not agree to that. We met them kind of halfway, that we would tie the percentage not to subscribers, but to their gross revenue. And if you do the calculation on 0.325% of their current revenue, and add that with the $125,000, they will come out to the same amount that Comcast and RCN is giving. We were not able to secure an HD channel from Comcast. Verizon, however, did agree to that, and that is a very big issue for local access. So with all the provisions being carried forward, with the exception of treating the capital a little bit differently, and the term of the license being somewhat shortened, and the addition of the HD channel, we essentially have the same licenses that you previously voted for Comcast and RCN. So my colleagues on the Cable Advisory Committee respectfully recommend its approval, and would be remiss here if I didn't mention the very excellent efforts of Peter Epstein, our outside counsel, and of course our negotiating team is always led by Adam and Doug, and I kind of sit in the fourth row, although I have a big deal.
I was going to say, I
mean,
thought you were a big, you
they
came
are
with the
big-
big
they are
horn.
bigger. They are bigger deals than me. So with that, I'm glad to respond to any questions that you have, or any questions of John or your professional staff.
My colleagues have questions?
I have an indirect question, but
Yeah, I was just going to make a comment that I actually, the 5-year change makes a lot of sense to me, because I can remember, you read the last contract and it talks about, what we have to do about, copper cables to supply to the schools and stuff like that, and I say, wow, that wasn't up to, that contract had exceeded its lifespan, and so I think the 5-year makes a lot of sense. I'm really glad to see that.
Yeah.
That's it.
move approval?
Which would you like me to do?
Oh, I'd like you move approval.
I move approval of the
And then I have
contract as written.
second with a question. This is sort of indirect to this, and if you don't have an opinion, or it's something you want to share with us at a future meeting, indirectly it relates to this around PEG access and funding. We discussed this at with the town manager at the Selectmen Goals and Mission meeting that we had recently, that there may be some new guidelines coming out about the actual funding source, and how it's allocated in the future if these, I think they're going to be federal guidelines that are coming out.
They're via the state's Department of Revenue.
And I'm just wondering if it's something you're aware of, and any suggestions you have for the mechanism or mechanisms we should consider?
Yeah, you and I spoke about that last week briefly on the phone, and I did have a discussion with Adam, but I think Adam is probably better situated to explain it. It's my understanding the Department of Revenue has determined that the town meeting will now have some input as to the expenditure, and I believe that's going to start next spring at the town meeting, but I think Adam is better situated, or Doug, to speak to that, but
Oh,
you're
no,
correct.
they definitely,
You're correct.
they presented us with like 3 or 4 options, and one that I think is, I just wanted to make sure that we were informing you and the Cable Advisory Committee in case you had any input that, you wanted to add to that, but it seems like you've already spoken with
Yes.
Adam and Doug, and
Yes.
we have that covered, so thank you.
That's it. I want to thank you all, too. I know this has been a very long process between all 3 of the providers, and we appreciate all the work the Cable Advisory Committee has done. I did have one question, I don't know whether directed to yourself or to Town Council. It would appear, reading the material changes, that we actually may have to take 2 votes tonight if we want to avail ourselves of all of the provisions, because I note here it says that high definition channel for PEG access use by March 1st, 2018, provided that the Board of Selectmen requests such channel in writing 180 days prior to activation.
Correct.
Which by my calculation would be around September 1st, and we're not meeting until September 11th, so it seems that we may need to take a vote this evening to authorize me
I
to
would have
write
missed
and
that.
request
That's a good point. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so if my
I
official
guess I'm not a big a deal as I thought I was.
Well, I took it off of, no, I Mr. Epstein's memo. That's all right.
my initial vote is just for the contract, and we can
Okay.
perhaps.
Great.
Second to that.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Dunn, seconded by Ms. Mahan.
Did we want to? I don't know if we wanted to hear from the representative.
Oh, did you wish to say anything? I'm sorry. We thank you for your.
Mr. Chairman, I think it is perhaps a public hearing. You may want to ask if
Yeah,
there are any other
thank you.
input. for-
Is there anyone else who would wish to speak to this matter? Great, thank you. Hearing none, we have a motion on the table and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the chairman to officially notify Verizon of our request regarding the HD channel?
Yeah, for high definition
For
channel. for
high
PEG
definition
access.
chair for PEG access.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the table, seconded by Mr. Dunn. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Great, thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
I'll work with the office to get the letter, and we'll get that out, so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we now move on to the consent agenda, which will be by one vote unless otherwise stated. Appointment, Zoning Board of Appeals, Associate Member to Voting Member Sean O'Rourke, term 9/15/17 to 10/1/20. For approval, Arlington Center for the Arts, Open Studios, Pole Banners, Linda Shoemaker, Arlington Center for the Arts Executive Director. Request special one-day beer and wine license, 9/16/17, Town Day Beer Garden, Kevin F. Greeley, Selectman. Request special one-day beer and wine license, 9/23/17, at Robbins Memorial Town Hall for a private event, Tovar and Bascuas Wedding. And appointment of new election workers, Patricia Costa, 82 Milton Street, Democrat, Precinct 17, and Julie Florin, 5 Reed Street, United Independent Party, Precinct 19. Do I have a motion?
So move.
So moved?
Second,
Seconded. Is there anyone here who would wish to speak on any of these items?
just one comment.
Yeah.
If I could ask the chair and the board administrator, I understand Mr. O'Rourke, we scheduled this and he's on vacation, so
Yeah.
if he could just come into the next meeting so he can meet all of us.
Sure, sure.
I mean, I met him during.
We could request that. I guess I had not asked him to, and I'll take the responsibility for that. I had not asked him to come in because I think it was only a month or two ago when we had appointed him as an associate, so
Right, okay,
But that's okay.
if everybody's
I figured-
fine with that, then that's
yeah,
fine. I can't
yeah.
remember if did he come
I think he
before
came
us?
in, maybe, yeah, I don't know, yeah.
All right, I'll let you handle that
Okay.
hot potato.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, any further comment? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It is so moved. Okay, and now we move on to public hearing, alcohol compliance hearing, package store Prime Your Local Butcher, EPW LLC, 1398 Massachusetts Avenue, Douglas W. Heim, Town Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the board will recall, there was previously testimony about a series of alcohol compliance operations conducted by the Arlington Police Department, done in accordance with ABCC standards. We heard testimony at this board's June meeting from Officer Porcello. I've spoken with counsel for Prime Your Local Butcher in the interest of efficiency. There's a basic stipulation, I think, to the facts as presented in the police department's report attached to your initial memo, which was reproduced for this meeting, so that we don't have to go through the entire process again. There are a few facts that I would highlight for the record in addition to the the inspector's previous testimony, which are essentially that when the violation was discovered, the inspectors and operatives went from APD, went into the store, talked to the manager. There was a relatively straightforward communication and acknowledgement of what had happened. There was no real controversy or attempt to deny or distract from the violation at issue. So with that, I think that the board is aware. If you have any questions of the general parameters of these proceedings, that the board first must determine whether or not a violation occurred. Second, must determine what, if any, penalty should be meted out in accordance with the guidelines established by your alcohol policy regulations. If the board doesn't have any other questions, I'd be happy to proceed to go ahead and hear from counsel for Prime Your Local Butcher, but I'm also happy to have any further discussion you'd like.
Are there any further questions from members of the board? Not at this time. Please, Ms. Winstanley O'Connor? Yep.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I represent EPW LLC, which does business as Prime. And with me is Peter Weissman, who's the managing partner of Prime. As Attorney Heim has said, my client stipulates to the facts in the police report and is indeed sorry that this did occur. Unfortunately, human beings sometimes commit mistakes. This was a salesperson that did not ask for a identification. The practice is to ask for identification. I put on your desks the policy, extensive policies. I've given one to Mr. Chapdelaine and Attorney Heim as to what Prime does by way of training. The violation occurred on February 28th, 2017, which was a Tuesday evening. You can see the next day, certain of the employees, some of the employees are newer, their documents are signed in June, but they were all subject to retraining. The gentleman who was responsible for the infraction was written up and received a warning in his personnel file. So they have a fairly extensive policy on requiring identification and identifying people who may be intoxicated, and what to do if any of those occur. So if you have any questions, Mr. Weissman is here, and he runs a quality operation, I think it's fair to say up there. I shop there, many other people shop there, so he is very concerned that he comply with all laws.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, counsel. Do my colleagues have anything? Mr. Dunn?
Thank you. I hadn't seen this until just now. So I guess maybe it isn't clear to me yet. What is different? Like, so given that this mistake occurred, it sounds like, if I understood correctly, this is the policy before, this is going to be the policy after.
It's expanded on, I should
Okay.
tell you. It's been expanded upon, and more detail has been provided as to what to do when someone comes in with respect to it. They don't look 40 years old, ask them for identification. What specific identification you may accept under the laws in this Commonwealth, that type of thing.
So these details are what really matter to me, because it's the way that we, as a board, can understand that the change is really happening. So could I get a detailed understanding of what the changes are?
Sure, Peter, would you like to address this?
Yeah, if you could come to the
Come on up to the
microphone.
mic.
Yeah. If you could just identify yourself.
Yes.
Thanks.
I'm Peter Weissman, managing partner of the EPW LLC.
The real meat of the question is, what's different such this isn't going to happen again? And if the answer is,
Well,
I
like-
change the policy, but like whatever answers that question, that's what I want to hear.
Okay. Well, yeah, like Mary said, we've updated the policy. We've added more specifics in terms of what are proper identification. We bolded that if you look under 40, you absolutely have to take ID. So we've added a lot more sort of specifics to the policy, as well as we've done additional training. So we added, if you look at the back, we added a quiz and some other information. So they have to truly they had to go and read all that information, absorb it, understand it, and acknowledge in a quiz that they truly get it. And so that occurred for every single employee. And we did that, like Mary said, right after. I mean, we jumped on it the next day. We jumped on it very quickly. I mean, I just can't tolerate any of that. So we did that training right away, and then we've continued it. So, even 2 weeks ago, I said, look, and even before then, we did that training in February, beginning of March. We did it again, just to say, okay, Scott, who's our general manager, I want you to bring all the employees together again, and let's just go and reinforce what they already know to be the policy. Does everyone get it? Yes, do you acknowledge? And we just keep doing that every couple months.
Okay.
So it's just to continue to
Let me
reinforce.
just, if I may jump in, some of the things that were added. If you look at the important information on checking identification, they've actually put in there about some minor males may look older than they seem because they have beards and mustaches and shaved heads, and some minor females may look older because of the way they're dressed or have makeup. Don't let that distract you. You need to ask for identification.
Right.
So is somewhere in there, is there a commitment to doing that training repeatedly going forward?
Oh, absolutely, we are.
Okay.
We have been doing
What are
it.
you going to commit to? Like, you say, I'm going to do it every 3 months, we're going to do it every 2 months,
Well, every new employee, obviously, that comes in goes through the extensive training.
Yeah.
So that's where it starts. And they have to sign the documentation the day they're hired and go through that training the day they're hired before they can work at the store. So we do that. And then I would commit to at least every quarter to do that, sit down with the entire staff training,
Okay.
if that seems sufficient.
That commitment is important to me, so thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Mahan?
Mr. Dunn, I think, asked most of the breadth of my question and answered it. I just want to make sure that I'm correct, and what I'm hearing is, it wasn't so much that you took the policy, updated it, handed it to everybody, said read it and take the quiz. There actually was a meeting, and this was gone over versus, is that correct, what I'm
Yeah,
hearing?
absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And then I noticed in here, you cited some sort of tools, as Ms. Winstanley O'Connor pointed out to us, as well as sort of some platforms in terms of cashier's responsibilities, and if it does rise to the customer starts to get argumentative. So my question would be, because this wasn't the case in a different establishment where we have had more serious issues, and this is a serious issue, is there at all time when you have a cashier, and this may seem like a silly question, when you have a cashier working, you have also a general manager or assistant manager also on site?
Always.
Okay, I'm asking that for the record, just not
Yeah.
so much.
No, that's
And
fine.
Ms. Mahan, you're referring to the fact that if they won't give the identification and they try to say nicely sorry, you can refer it to the manager or the assistant manager.
Yeah, no,
Thank you,
they were there.
thank you.
Anything else? Great. I just had one thing. I wanted to note that you may or may not know that our compliance program is supported by the Arlington Youth Health and Safety Coalition. And what the coalition is, it's a coalition comprised of members of our public health departments, our police department, the school department, some of our local nonprofits. I represent this board on the coalition. And they do a number of things to try to help prevent youth substance abuse, including underage drinking. So they support the compliance checks that comes out of their budget, and they help to recruit the operatives for that. One of the other programs, though, they're not just about enforcement, they're also about education, and one of the programs that the coalition has done for a number of years has been the Sticker Shock campaign. And I know they've worked with a number of the establishments in town on this, where some high school volunteers, maybe once a year, will come in with permission of the business, and we'll place it's a fairly small sticker, which is more as an advisory to anyone underage who's thinking about trying to purchase, or anyone thinking of purchasing alcohol for someone underage, warning them. Just as you might have the advisory sign on the door to people that we don't sell underage. And I just wanted to commend the program to you and suggest that it might be in your interest to consider participating in the future. I know that Ivy Schmaltz-Reed, who directs the coalition, could give you more information, an example of what this looks like in the future.
He's prepared to do it.
Oh, okay,
once a
great,
year.
thank you. We've had
Sure.
a great track record with it, and
Yeah, it sounds like a good thing.
yeah, and it's good PR too
Right.
for you as
Sure.
well, and to let folks know that you're taking this seriously.
Okay.
This is you had something else?
I was ready to make a motion.
Oh, okay, I think this is a public hearing, so I think we do want to ask and see if there's anyone else who has anything that they would like to. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this? Great. Mr. Dunn.
So our policy recommends 3 to 5 days on the first infraction of a suspension of the license. This is a first infraction. It's also, unlike some other ones we've seen, I'll call it, for lack of a better word, vanilla. There aren't a lot of circumstances. I'm pleased by the response, and I really think that the important part of it is the commitment to keeping it up, because it really is.
Yeah.
We don't see it, necessarily in the package store so much, but we definitely see it in the restaurants, like new employees or time passes, and that's where the mistakes are most often made. So all that said, and I also note the infraction was on February 28th, which was a Tuesday. So I recommend a 3-day suspension to start on a Tuesday. And I guess we're going to probably be able to finalize this in the month of our next meeting in September. So in the 4 weeks after we finalize this decision. So, in September or the beginning of October. That's my motion.
Okay, and that's a second, and that's just for the sale of alcohol. The
Yes,
business
of
will still
course.
be open
Thank you
for
for
the deli and
clarifying.
the meats and the sandwiches. I'm not going to say everything that you have, 'cause
Yes.
I wouldn't do it justice, but
Thank you for the
I just want to make it
clarification.
clear to people that
Yes.
they'll still be open for business.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Dunn, seconded by Ms. Mahan.
Excuse me.
Do we have any further comment or question? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you very much for coming in.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. We now move on to the appointment of a new poet laureate. We started this program a few years ago. It was voted by town meeting, the initiative of this board, and we had one poet laureate, Miriam Levine, who's served very ably for the last several years. But I know that the committee has gone out and has conducted a search and is bringing to us a nomination for a new poet laureate for the town of Arlington. Catherine Desjardins. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly or not. Did I do it okay? If you'd like to come up to the mic, I don't know if there's someone from the committee who wanted to introduce you too, so. We do have a letter from Ms. Halley, Liza Halley, who's the chair of the Poet Laureate Committee.
Yes, thank you.
Please step to the mic and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh,
and
my
why you
goodness.
want to do this. and-
Okay,
Yeah.
so I call you members of the board, I gather from, I don't call you select people or.
We answer to a lot of things.
But we answered a lot of things.
You've been called many.
You could be nice, that'd be great.
Okay, so I'm here as the prospective poet laureate, and I hope to expand the reach of poetry to all ages. I'd like to start with what I call knee baby poets, and those are very small, budding poet appreciators, I guess. Anyway, including my grandchild who's 2, and they like to sort of rhyme and jounce along on your knee, and I'm hoping to be able to do something with the Robbins Library with the knee baby poets, and all ages, really. I have a background as a reading specialist, a literacy coach, and a certified K-12 educator, and I've taught all ages from preschool to a lot of adult ed and seniors, and so I'd like to really reach out to all those people and make it a very democratic outreach in my tenure. And the questions I wanted to explore are, where does poetry come from? That's part 1. And the other question I was thinking about is, where can poetry go, or where can it take us? So in honor of that question, I wrote a poem for you and for the occasion, which I will share. I appreciate that you deferred on the inspirational moment.
Yes. I could not find anything to light a candle with professional poets.
So this is called Invitation to Poetry. I have to say, in my background as a K-12 educator, I rely a lot on visual aids and props. So I thought, what's there? You know, what are we gonna? So I thought about something that's in front of us, and that is our hands. So that's kind of the theme of my poem, Invitation to Poetry. Poetry invites you to look at your hands and notice how they are becoming the hands of your parents, with their deepening ravines and small knuckled hills. Poetry invites you to look at your fingertips, each of which belong only to you. World maps carrying your identity, even if at times you felt lost to yourself. Poetry invites you to brush someone tonight with your fingertips, almost imperceptibly, touching an arm, a shoulder, or taking a hand firm in your own and looking into someone's eyes. And when the meeting is over, the words and words done, poetry invites you to go outside and curl your fingers gently into small bowls that could catch starlight or rain. Breathe in, look to see if the sky is light or dark. Listen a moment to the noises around and let them run through your fingers, the sounds of our Arlington.
Thank you.
Thank you
very
so
much.
We're using our hands.
We're using our hands, we are. Thank you so much, and thank you for your willingness to serve. We really look forward to benefiting from you. I know that the folks who've gone to the library programs with the previous Poet Laureate have benefited greatly, and we look forward to a continuation. And thank you also to the members of the Poet Laureate. I see John Burt there. I don't think any of your colleagues, but thank you for all the work that you put into this as well.
Move approval.
Second.
Oh, right, very important. Okay, it is moved to the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Congratulations, you're officially the Poet Laureate of the town of Arlington.
Thank you.
Okay. We now move on to a request for a common victual license, Dunkin' Donuts, 101 Broadway, James Angelillo, John Angelillo, Christopher Angelillo, and Mohammed Hilawi. Are any of the applicants here? If you could please come on up to the mic and identify yourself and introduce yourself to the board.
Hello, I'm James Angelillo. Very tough act to follow.
Did you write us a poem?
We were in the process of purchasing Dunkin' Donuts at 101 Broadway in Arlington from Watermark Company, and we did not realize that we had to file for a new victualer's license.
Oh.
And so we were supposed to close, I think, in late June. I do want to thank Selectmen and the board for getting us on the agenda. I knew we were late, and we would have had to wait another month.
Yeah.
Duncan Corporate only allowed us 60-day closing periods. So if we waited the other month, we would have had to start the process all over again, so I do appreciate that. We thought the license ran until it expired, and then we would renew it, but it doesn't. So we're here to ask if we, if we can get a license approved. Basically, that's it. It's been there, I think, almost 25 years. So we're buying an existing location, and I think there's a remodel due in the next 3 or 4 years, so we're investing money in renovating it.
Sure. Okay.
That's it.
Ms. Mahan?
Move approval?
Second?
I just want to say, I informally told my colleagues, two of my best friends are John and his wife Kelly Puglisi, now Kelly Angiulo. And I do appreciate your patience, and I also appreciate you thanking the board, but especially our board administrator, Mrs. Kropalka, who really did everything to make that happen, because, and I had discussed this with John, different cities and towns regarding Dunkin' Donuts sort of operate different ways, whether it's bylaws, ordinances. In Arlington, we make sure we do everything that we're supposed to do it. Not that other cities and towns aren't, but everything by the book. I know Mrs. Kropalka really did a yeoman share of work every time I called her to get all the different department heads and then their individual employees that had to get everything together. And John and the rest of the Angiulo family were also very prompt in doing things that you need to do on your end. And the only other thing that I had said to John is, if you should, and I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, go into other cities and towns, just check out, I'm assuming Arlington's the best, and if everyone does everything right, that you now know what everything is. So I appreciate you all working with us, because I know it's the middle of summer for you, but I don't want to take my colleagues so much credit as Mrs. Kropalka is there with her feet on the ground day to day. And I love Kelly and John, and I know why they're not here. I miss them. But they'll be back soon. So, thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Okay, you had a motion?
Mm-hmm. So moved.
Moved and seconded by Mr.
Yep.
Dunn. Any further comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations, and thank you very much for investing in
Could I ask you
Arlington.
one question?
Certainly,
This is from our attorney.
sure.
We realize there's a 20-day right of appeal, so somebody can appeal the decision. And he wanted to know, does the 20-day appeal time start when you make your decision, or is there some date after that we have to wait? So we can't do the closing until that 20-day appeal runs out. We're just not
You know
sure
the
what's.
answer.
So generally, it should be from the date of approval. The paperwork may reflect a date that the paperwork is submitted to you, but the selectmen took their vote tonight. So I think there should be, it's a public hearing, there should be 20 days from tonight.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, we did it
Thank-
in public, so, thank you. Okay, now we move on to Citizens Open Forum. Except in unusual circumstances, any matter presented for consideration of the board shall neither be acted upon nor a decision made the night of the presentation in accordance with the policy under which the open forum was established. It should be noted that there is a 3-minute time limit to present a concern or request. Do we have anyone signed up for Citizens Open Forum?
Joanne Preston from 42 Mystic Street about the trees here.
Okay, okay,
Here, and then
Ms.
there's
Preston.
Lauren Donnelly, the chief from Hutchison Road.
okay.
Yeah, Joanne. Yes. It's me.
Hi, if you could come to the
Hi.
mic, identify your name and address, please.
Yes, I'm Joanne Preston. I live at 42 Mystic Lake Drive, which is in the Webb Cowett neighborhood. Excuse me, I don't want to forget anything, so as the chair mentioned, the appeal of the tree warden's decision to preserve the ash tree at 40 Webb Cowett Road has been delayed. It may come next time, it may not. Tonight, then, I am not going to talk about the merits of preserving our healthy, environmentally beneficial, beloved ash tree, but I'd like to talk about more equitable notification. Apparently, the developer can change the date whenever she would like to do it and has lots of time to think about it. Whereas we're told that we should be constantly monitoring the web to try to find out when it would be. There are 3 problems with that. First of all, it may be a surprise to all of you, but not everybody is that conversant with using the web and finding the agenda. I talked to 3 people this afternoon in my neighborhood who had no idea how to do this. Secondly, it only pops up, as you know, at noon on Friday. People are at work, they're with their children. By the time they see it, they only have a few days to reorganize work, family schedules to come. And they, as I understand it, if they don't come, then the developer wins. So that's a problem. A third problem is, I myself looked at the agenda. I found it not that easy to understand. First of all, there's a very worrisome topic called new business. Well, as some people began to think, well, maybe he could just slip it under new business. But people don't know. And a number of my neighbors are here just because of that concern. I'd like to make some suggestions. One is, a good way to notify people is to put a sign on the tree, because the people walking by it are the people, and live around there are the people who are interested in it. And it should say the date and time of the appeal, so they know when to come, not just go to your website. And also there should be at least 10 days. That's what it is for the hearing for the original with the tree warden was 10 days. It should be
Just
at
to let
least
you
10
know,
days.
about 30 seconds or so. Yeah.
What?
About 30 seconds or so, yeah.
And you can also use a number of media outlets. So I hope you put your heads together to figure out a more equitable way of doing this, because everybody reorganized themselves to come tonight. Now it's not tonight. Maybe it'll be on the 11th. Who knows? Thank you.
Thank you. Before, I did want to let folks know, I know there's a note about agendas on Fridays on the website. There is a possibility of subscribing on the website to our agendas by email, in which case they do arrive on Thursdays. So, Mr. Dunn?
Yeah, I'm definitely, I think the notion of fairness is really important to me. And so one of the things that I would definitely say that as a matter of practice that we do as a board is that we make sure that, within reason as much as we can, that the people, that everybody who should be notified about something will be notified about when it's going to happen. So for instance, it would not be something that we would generally do or want to do where we let one party know about something, that something's going to be on the agenda for weeks in advance, and the other party not know about it in a short period of time. That's not so. While the law, like, I guess technically permits us to do it, as a matter of practice, we won't. So I definitely have gotten a number of contacts about this tree, and I will I'll make real efforts to make sure that people know when the hearing is actually set. I agree with you that fair notice, so that all the interested party knows. That's going to help us reach a good decision, and I'm absolutely in favor of that.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. We had someone else on the list?
Yes, but she sent a letter under correspondence received, so I don't know if you wanted.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay, no worries. We'll be there very soon. We'll be there very soon. Was there anybody else for Citizens Open Forum? Seeing none, thank you. We now move on to traffic rules and orders and other business. For approval, sidewalk treatment buy-up, historic districts. Mr. Chapdelaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tonight, what I'm going to be asking the board for is consider endorsing this concept in regards to a sidewalk treatment buy-up program in historic districts that would then give myself and the Director of Public Works basically the backing of the board to go work with the Historic District Commission, hammer out an actual policy and program, and then bring it back for final adoption. As is laid out in the memo, the impetus for this is recently, or even some time ago, when DPW went to perform a certain street project in a historic district, there was significant pushback from the residents in that neighborhood about our plan to put concrete sidewalks in that historic district. This particular historic district, or this particular street, had a mix of brick, concrete, and asphalt sidewalks. So, frankly, with more of the engineer's hat on, not that I'm an engineer, but with more of the engineer's hat on, the town's position was, well, concrete is an upgrade from the patchwork that exists now. After a long dialogue, what we came to agree upon, and again are asking for endorsement tonight, was pursuit of a buy-up program where we could agree upon a sidewalk alternative that was not concrete. The recommended alternative is concrete with a brick trim, and allow residents to buy up to that. The DPW director, Mr. Rademacher, would very much like for that to be organized by the historic district so that we could put in place a program whereby everybody is notified that that a project's coming, give time to make a buy-up decision, plan the work, and then have it implemented. So again, tonight, what I'm looking for is to see if the board endorses it. And I want to be clear, I'm asking for it because it's not just new, it's at least differential treatment for one segment of town that not everybody gets. So before I would embark on a program like that, I wanted to be sure the board was willing to utilize town resources for such a program.
Thank you. Mr. Dunn?
I had a couple questions first, I guess. One is, maybe this is TBD, but you say there's 3 houses, and one of them doesn't want to buy up, and 2 of them do. Is the plan then that we'd have a patchwork at that point, like an intentional patchwork?
Yeah, so if may I answer? I don't want to jump.
Please.
Yeah, that's an issue we have to work through, because I think we could run into a problem where we stay stuck at go or not at go if we need to get a majority or 2/3 majority or whatever it might be to have the whole street done. So I'm not exactly sure how we'll handle that, but I was speaking with the chair of the Historic District Commission as we walked in tonight, and I think we can try to work through some details and see if we can come back with something that works.
Okay. So I guess my thoughts is that in principle, I think that saying the historic district is a good boundary for when this is reasonable. And so in that context, if the historic district adopts it as a policy, so at that point it's not, I'm comfortable with that. I think the model of the private way improvement, where we have a bylaw that says 2/3 can force the other third to make a payment. I don't know if 2/3 is the right venue, the right amount, but I also think that the town could perhaps reasonably make distinctions where, say you have a 4-block street and 2 of the blocks are unanimous and 2 of them aren't. Maybe we should address it. If maybe the town wants to say, addressing this block by block isn't a burden, and we're willing to do it block by block, that might be a possibility. So I guess my short answer is that in principle, I'm happy, I endorse it, but I think there's a lot of important details there that need to be worked through, which I think you knew that already.
Is that a motion?
Move approval of the general principle with the understanding that there's a more detailed policy needs to be, we need to see a more detailed policy before we're giving a formal approval.
Okay. Ms. Mahan? Ms. Mahan seconds it. Do you have any questions?
Just comments, because it sounds like you're getting this approval endorsement for us. You're gonna go back, and then you're gonna come back, as Mr. Dunn said, with a final document a draft document to be discussed and voted upon. Just 2 things that I know you're already aware of, but, and I've seen it in neighborhoods, especially hilly neighborhoods near where I live, that aren't even historic, that in terms of ADA requirements and children and adults with disabilities, I'm assuming somewhere there must exist for those people who want the brick option, that there's something that, it might not truly be brick mortar, maybe something else. If we could look into that, because I've seen, even when my days of going up to Palmenter School, any kind of, very few of the streets are straight. They're up and down, and pushing a stroller, or if you're in a walker, you get caught in those grooves. In the wintertime, it's virtually impossible, if it does get shoveled, that it gets shoveled appropriately so you can traverse safely. So I see that you have in here that you cite ADA requirements, and that's something. So I just wanted to highlight that for other people that are hearing this. I don't know if Attorney Heim, if I touched on anything. Mr. Chairman?
Please.
Well, so I think maybe we're thinking the same thing, that exactly what you're saying is why, at least our initial proposal is to look at a concrete path with the brick trim so that we can maintain an accessible pathway that frankly the Disabilities Commission is also in agreement with. You can lay brick that is accessible, but if not this board, a prior incarnation of this board, I think did make a commitment to the Disability Commission to never lay new brick in town, where brick doesn't currently exist, where this situation, had we gone full brick, could have created that, which we didn't want to do. You raise another challenge in making this all work, that there's going to be areas where there's a tree root that is going to prevent the laying of 2 flat concrete panels and may require an asphalt patch that will provide an ADA accessible path. How we handle that, we need to figure out.
And then my second point, and I don't mean to be picayune, to make anything sound silly, but several people, again, people that have walkers, strollers, have some sort of impediment of just being able to walk up and down. And this, again, isn't just historic, but since you're addressing that, I don't know if there can be, this is the appropriate time to have a conversation regarding the public land in front of the historic homes and what flora or plantings get put in there, not so much to regulate and oversee what's put in there, but somehow it has to get clear that, that is public land, if it's something that is allowed, but you have to, I have, somewhere I live very close, I'm gonna say it's close to me, it is not a historic home, and nobody can walk down this, because everything is grown over so much. You couldn't push a stroller through there, you couldn't even walk, so I don't know if this is the appropriate place to have that conversation, but it seems to go hand in hand, especially, people, if it's some people with historic homes and not historic homes who do want the brick, like to take that public patch of land, take out the grass that, the town has in there, and plant these different plants. And I'm not a plant person, I just know red roses and yellow and white daisies.
Violets are blue.
Yeah, maybe I need more than work than that, but I have seen some of these things where the overgrowth, sometimes it's up to here. So I don't know if that's appropriate to discuss.
We can look at that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
may I? I just wanted to provide additional assurance and comment on Ms. Mahan's statements and queries. One is to make very clear that the town engineer and the DPW director understand that every new sidewalk laid down in Arlington must be ADA compliant on a public way. We've been working very aggressively on curb ramps, but any sidewalk has to be ADA compliant, and to the extent that any options that would be available would render something not ADA compliant, it cannot be done. I think that we're fairly confident that brick sidewalks can be ADA compliant, but I'll leave it to the town engineer and the DPW director to inform you of maybe, and residents of some complications that may exist on specific public ways and specific patches. The other piece with respect to what's sometimes called the tree belt or the road verge, or has 100 different names, that's a kind of complicated situation with respect to who always owns the actual belt itself. Oftentimes the town does own it, sometimes it doesn't. It's a little bit, may vary a little bit from street to street, but nothing changes the fact that on a public sidewalk, you cannot encroach on that public way. So if plants, structures, anything is basically impeding access to the public way, even if people have rights to land on one side of it or the other, it does not change the fact that no one may encroach on the public way. So that's something that we can also aggressively look at, and we're in a very good position to make sure that we include that as the engineer and the DPW director, as part of this, are making sure that our public ways are in compliance with ADA from an accessibility standpoint.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I just had one question on it. I know that we have done ADA compliant brick walkways out by the town hall on Academy Street side and by the senior center with the flush brick with no mortar in between. Is that what this quote is for? The brick walk, all brick, is that approach?
Correct, and that is essentially laying 2 sidewalks.
Yeah.
It's laying a concrete sidewalk and then laying a brick sidewalk in that concrete sidewalk.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you. So we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Dunn, seconded by Ms. Mahan. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, it is unanimous. Passed. We now move on to correspondence received. Oh, I'm
I just
sorry.
didn't know if Steve
Oh, I apologize, yeah.
Steve McCalca, the
Yeah,
Chair
hi.
of the Historic District Commission.
I apologize.
No problem. I appreciate the town manager bringing this issue up. This is something that we have been discussing as a commission for a number of years. All of these things, the concerns that you've raised tonight are things that we've thought about. You know, there's no one simple solution, but we understand that ADA compliance is a very important part of what has to be considered here. And there are a number of options and different approaches. We formalized our input in the work that we've done so far into the master planning process. And I would just like to point out that the master plan has recommendations about creating a sense of place within the historic districts as a way of promoting historic resources within town and letting people know, hey, there's something special here. Part of that is standardizing what we do in historic districts when street improvements are being done. You know, the treatment of streets, curbing, signage, that type of thing. With the idea is if there's a plan in place, you can do things at relatively low cost that really say, hey, this is a special place in town. So that's what this is all part of. So we appreciate the effort to move in this direction. I can't comment on this specific proposal. We haven't had a chance to talk in detail with the town manager, but I look forward to discussing with him and coming up with something to bring back to you.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, and I apologize for not catching you. Okay, we now move on to correspondence received. Request for reconsideration of parking ticket appeal fee, Joan M. Perello, 48 Wildwood Avenue. Speeding traffic concern on Hutchinson Road, Lauren Dolly via Request Answer Center. Request one space on on-street overnight parking at or near 97 Bow Street. Anya Minogue, 97 Bow Street. Problems with certain MBTA bus stop markings in East Arlington. Catherine King, 215 Massachusetts Avenue. Do I have a motion?
Move receipt? We have correspondence received?
Correspondence
Move
received.
receipt?
We have a motion to receive by Ms. Mahan, second by Mr. Dunn. Do we have any referrals we would like to make? Mr. Dunn?
Yes, but perhaps I want to hear.
People out here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Well, the only thing I was gonna say is I just wanna check with the chair and town council regarding the first piece of correspondence, the reconsideration for the parking ticket appeal. That's, unless I'm incorrect, not really under our purview.
I can actually speak to that. I actually contacted the treasurer and our parking clerk just to get a little bit more information on that. That is, he receives about 20 to 30 appeals per month. The $5 appeal fee is to cover the costs of processing the appeals. If an appeal is upheld, the $5 is refunded. If it is not upheld and they're found to still be in violation, that it's non-refundable fee. And there's a strong feeling that in addition to the fact that that's covering the administrative cost, that if it were removed, it may encourage frivolous appeals as well. So that I did actually reach out to him when I saw that on the.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Oh, I'm sorry. It's been a long week. What are we at, Monday? Did you want to come up and speak to this? Yeah, sure. And if you could just identify yourself and your address, yeah.
My name's Lauren Dowley, and I live at 54 Hutchinson Road in Arlington. Okay. And I've been there for about 4 years. And during that time, I've had 2 children and have been both home and at work, full-time nanny, grandparents around, and I've called the police department many times about the serious speeding that happens on our street. It is a popular walking route. We're often out there, and the speed limit is posted as 25 miles an hour. And I think in the day and age of Waze, more and more traffic is coming our way. And cars are they have to be doing well into the 40s to 50 miles an hour. It's pretty extreme. And all of my calls to the police department have pretty much ended with either leaving a message or somebody telling me that police details are out there often in their ticketing, which I'd love to see their records because somebody is at my house all the time, and I've never once in 4 years seen an Arlington police car giving a ticket to anyone there. And I contacted the police chief and have not received a response. So here I am. I'm not really sure what the proper procedure is, but I figured this was a good starting point.
Great, thank you. Did we want to possibly refer this to the manager?
Yeah, we can't
Yeah.
discuss it.
Sounds good.
Why don't you refer it to me?
We'll refer it to the manager, yep.
And if I could, no, I just want to explain the process. I don't want you to think that we're not,
Okay.
like, listening and not responding. The agenda has different parts. Correspondence received initially is the first thing that kicks in the system for the
Okay.
Board of Selectmen to start its work.
Okay.
So, typically what we do is people can come or not come. The correspondence received is the first thing to say, okay, let's start the process.
Okay.
So normally what we do, whether you were here or not, would say we're going to refer this to, Transportation Advisory, to the police department, to the town manager. Then they go and gather all the information. Then we get it back. We properly post it, properly notify you. And
Okay.
then we'll have it as an agenda item in a hearing.
Okay.
So under open
And I
meeting
didn't know
law.
if you had advice on things like if I should put a camera out there and bring footage.
we really
I'm
can't-
happy
yeah,
to do
yeah,
whatever is helpful.
But we can't discuss that tonight, because
Okay.
that's not, correspondence received is literally,
Okay.
we've received your correspondence, that's the only action we can take.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now everything is put into motion, so.
The manager, Mr. Manager. Yeah.
Can you stay just to give me your email address before you go?
Yes,
that okay?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Was there anybody else here who wished to speak to any of the pieces of correspondence received?
We refer
Yeah, oh,
the,
here, yeah, please come on up. Okay, if you come up. Hi. If you could just identify yourself. And, yeah.
Hi, my name is Anya Minogue and I live at Bow Street. And I just have a few unusual circumstances, which is why this is my point of last resort for a parking spot. I'm a musician, so I work very late hours and I come home at very strange hours of the night. So, and our driveway has a sewer pipe, very large sewer pipe that was given as part of an easement to the town some years ago before people could foresee the parking issues that might arise. So there's a very steep gradient which makes it impossible to park in the what should be the first space. And this will be my first time renting the property since we owned it in '98. An elderly relative lived there. So we'd like to rent it. And I did look at the Pierce, which would be great, but I sometimes don't get in until 3 and 4 in the morning from travelling many late hours. So the 7 o'clock removal would be difficult. And I'd love to park at the Herd Field, but I have a lot of concerns about walking home late at night by myself. You know, that's very, very tricky. So I wouldn't like to ask for Bow because I know it's a very busy street, but I'm one house from Oakledge.
Yeah.
And if there was any way I could park there.
Okay, thank you very much. I think similar thing, this kind of begins the process. Typically, we have these on our agenda as a formal request and hearing. So we can look to put this on the agenda. In the meantime, maybe we could just ask for an advisory
we'll
from
refer to the
APD.
overnight parking subcommittee.
Overnight parking subcommittee.
Well, I think
Or no?
the board's office can run it through the normal chain of
Yeah.
command.
Yeah, run through the normal
Yes.
channels. Usually the police take a look and such. So, and the office will inform you when we have a formal hearing on it, where we have advice also from the police department and others about the advisability of being able to do that. So.
I did do it in Limerick form, but then I lost my nerve, so.
Wait, Mr. Curo needs something for the next meeting. Chairman will need something.
I will say, I enjoy your music very much. We were listening to it tonight after we got your URL in the letter, so thank you.
I was holding out for a haiku about alcohol policy earlier.
Contact Mr. Marr, he's huge.
Okay, are there any further referrals?
Yes.
We have one more.
I would like to refer Mr. Manager, would you be willing to take on looking at the bus stop markings?
Yeah, I can, yes, I can delegate all, there's probably a few different people that should look at it.
Okay.
Okay. I don't think there was anyone here to speak to that, was there? No. Okay. On a motion by Mr. Dunn, seconded by Ms. Mahan, with all of the requisite referrals, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it is so passed. Okay, new business, Ms. Kropelka.
Nothing right now except for Town Day, which we'll talk about the next meeting.
Okay.
But I told you, right now we have 3 what I did, 200, almost 240, and that's our cutoff for booths. So we're right at our max and have some nice new people coming in, so hopefully it will be a good day.
Great, great, excellent. Mr. Hine?
No new business, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Manager?
Very brief piece, thanking the board for an excellent goal-setting session last Saturday. I think we were very efficient in the few hours that we spent on Saturday morning, so thank you very much.
I think the manager and I are going to try to have those put together by the next
September.
meeting, so we
Absolutely.
can formally adopt
Great.
them.
And I really like your suggestion and ambition and hard work you're gonna have to go put in to make both sort of correlate and more of a matrix form. I'm not sure how you explained it,
Yeah.
but it's something that's gonna be.
Consolidated document. yeah.
Exactly, that, I appreciate you doing the hard work on that, because I didn't last year. And I have no new business.
Great. Not great. but-
Tells you how I usually go,
I just
right?
brushed my fingers like the
There you
poem
go.
said. Mr. Dunn?
No new business.
I only have one thing, and I'm sorry that he's not here, but I know that the board and staff all join me in wishing our colleague, Mr. Byrne, the very best. In a couple of weeks, he will be married, and just a few days before the solar eclipse. So we hope that he and his bride, that their light shines upon one another, and that they never overshadow one another in their lives together. How's that, Madam Poet Laureate? And with that, I will entertain a motion to
Move to
adjourn.
adjourn.
Moved by Ms.
Second.
Mahone, second by Mr. Dunn. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Meeting is adjourned.